G'day, all you wonderful, lovely people out there. What a show we've got coming to you tonight. We've got heaps on. G'day, Harry, Mark, Alyssa, Liz, Paul. Don't forget to whack your postcodes in so we can draw a postcode prize out later on. Listen, the big thing this week is the Pay It Forward campaign. It is going great guns at the moment. We've got our first delivery today. So don't forget, I will, hopefully, if the borders are open, I will be up at Wivenhoe collecting a heap of gear off all the tournament anglers, and we'll put that into the Pay It Forward fund. I do have to give a shout out to another group of guys that are actually doing great things up around Toowoomba Way. They're called Get Chopped. So if you don't know about them, jump on their website. It is nice and simple. It's Get Chopped. If you're into old cars, they're the guys to get on. They're giving away some cars. Listen, I'll show you here. Get a little bit undressed. Get Chopped. So get on them. They're giving away $100,000 cash or your choice of a Monaro or a Falcon. So it's up to you guys whether you want to do that. $30 to enter and possibly winning it. They raise money for local sports stars in and around the Toowoomba region. So all the money that they raise from the raffle actually goes towards sports people in the region. So get on and support those guys. They do a great job. We've got some great guests on tonight. A bit of a comedian, very dry-witted man, and look, I'll let him explain himself later on, but I'll bring them both on. Here is the guys. How are we, lads?
Good as gold.
Good as gold. G'day, Nick. You got audio there, Nick? Don't know if we've got audio with Nick there, but that's all right. We'll talk to you for a minute, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Enjoying a COVID-free state, not like Victoria.
Yeah, no, we've got a bit of an issue with that. So
you're a germy lot.
Yeah, look, we're a grubby lot. Apparently, we don't know how to wash our hands. So I'm just hoping that we get up to Wivenhoe and things are still operational by then. Got a few more on. We've got Amber, Steve, Jordan, Jeff, Bo, Jeremy. There's people from everywhere. So that's really good. Billy got on. That's all good. We'll keep chatting. Tim, tell us a little bit about your background as a co-boater.
Wow, that's I'm not quite sure if it's 14 or 15 years now. Pretty well been co-boater and also a lot of Bass Electric series. Been doing like competing in them and also running them for some years at ISIS and Lenthals. Yeah, been in the ABT for all of that time and never missed a year. And it's been pretty well great, yeah.
So tell us, for the people out there, we have a lot of people on the show that aren't quite into the tournament scene, and we're going to have to look sideways to watching Nick tonight. He's the wrong way around. What does co-boater mean? What's the best way to describe what you do they don't do it in a lot of the comps down here, so just explain what we talk about when we mean co-boater.
So the co-boater format, you get drawn on. You might book into the contest with a mate, but then on Friday night you'll get drawn randomly. Some comps used to have 3 sessions, so you'd have Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon with one person, and then Sunday morning with another. So you get drawn with somebody. So it's a luck of the draw who you're going to end up with. And I think, getting into it, it was just, I used to like read all of fishing magazines. I've always been into fishing since I was knee high. And then I saw all these fantastic boats on the Burnett River. It was a brim event, the first time they had a brim event up in the Bundaberg region. Yep. And the next year I saw it came along and I just went, well, I can kind of catch a brim on a lure. I didn't have a boat of my own then, so I just signed up and it all went from there. And from there, I got into bass and did a couple of barra tournaments. And so, yeah, pretty well done the whole lot with the ABT.
Yep. No, and it's all been involved with the ABT side of stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've had a couple of family comps and Bass Nation when they were around. They were pretty good, and the Basstastic guys. So yeah, spread myself around a bit.
Excellent.
But
Yeah,
I suppose
we'll leave that one alone.
Don't go there.
You got audio there, Nick?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. It always happens when you go live. We can do as many tests as you want. Look, guys. Well, I've got you both there. I've got a little bit of a list. I do a bit of a questionnaire, I suppose you'd call it, for people to get to know you a little bit better. So what you need to do is answer the questions as quickly as what you can, and just blurt out which you are, and then I'll assess whether you're a yobbo, a nice guy, or maybe just one of those guys I don't want to talk to when I get to a tournament. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Pizza shapes or chips?
Chips.
In the boat.
Ooh, Crocodile Dundee or Wolf Creek?
Wolf Creek.
I didn't get an answer from Nick.
No, Dundee.
Dundee, yep. No, that's all right. Just checking. Kanye West or Garth Brooks?
Neither.
Neither.
Cod or Barra?
Barra.
Cod.
Cod.
Tasted Barra.
Yeah. Roast lamb or roast chicken?
I'm a vegan. Sorry, lamb.
Lamb. Tomato sauce or barbecue sauce?
Barbecue.
Or tomato.
Tomato. Ooh. Bonfire or nightclub?
Bonfire.
Whiskey or rum?
Whiskey.
Both.
Both. Barbecue or restaurant?
Both.
Barbecue.
Barbecue. Cats or puppies?
Dogs.
Dogs.
iPhones or Android?
iPhone.
And does pineapple go on a pizza?
You idiot.
I'll drink with you, Nick. You can go away, Tim. If you don't think pineapple goes on pizza, that's just un-Australian. So there you go. That'll give the guys.
What did you say that was what?
Un-Australian.
Yes, there's an L in it. Remember, Australia.
Australia.
Yes? Australia. Yep.
We got people from all over the place. I'm just looking, Lake Macquarie, Grafton, Huntley, Leeton. Everyone's on. Ringwood. We've got a few from Melbourne. Chinchilla again. Nick's audio is a bit quiet. Yeah, we know we've had some audio problems. Just talk it up a little bit for us. So, guys, while you're putting your postcodes in, Amber Bruni, I thought you were a vegan team. Get your questions in for us so we can start asking these guys some questions. Nick, tell us a little bit about you. You've gone straight through and decided not to jump into the co-boater ranks. You've helped a few people out at a comp and just stayed as a boater. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I sort of started. I co-boated or observed at the Australian Open a couple of years ago with Chris Hickson and Steve Morgan, and got the bug for it. I sort of knew that's where I wanted to go next. I'd done a heap of game fishing tournaments and a bit of cod stuff, and was moving up to the Hunter Valley. So you got, St Clair and Glenbourne in your backyard. So the entries came out for the first round last year at the Clarence, and I didn't have my roster for work until quite late, and then I realised that there was 6 or 7 non-boaters that didn't have a start. So I thought, well, I'm going to be number 7 or 8. So I just sort of jumped in at the deep end and took the boat, and
the rest is history. Looks like we've got a bit of a pause problem there. Always happens when you go live. We'll just hide that one. Bring you back up a little bit bigger, Tim.
That could be scary.
That could be scary. All right, so we've got a question here. We'll bring this up on the screen. Jeff Barry has asked, how do you switch the bass on when they won't bite? Have them on the sounder.
Oh, that's just open all your lure boxes and just go through and through and through until something gets hit. You just if they're a bit shut down, you just got to keep trying. I'll tend to go with more subtle things if they're not so much reaction bites. So down to plastics, maybe ice jigs, a good Niels Master ice jig, and just keep going through your lures until you find something that they want to hit.
Yeah, so it's a point of just trial and error, you're saying, Tim, when those fish aren't, you know they're under you, but they're not biting, you're going to try and annoy them into biting. Is that the process behind it?
Yeah, because they'll change. They'll change from day to day. Just at my little dam out here just recently, 3 weeks ago, you couldn't get one on a spoon and it was just blades. But now one particular spoon is just nailing them. And they're just changing with what they're doing and how they're feeding, I suppose. And you've got to go and find what's in your tackle box that's going to match that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We've it's, I suppose, I don't know what. It's a difficult question because we all know that they're on the either on the bottom. I suppose the different times of the year, it does change how you would actually target them or how you would continue to get them to bite. So, Nick, the question was, how do you switch the bass on when they won't bite? You have them on the sounder. So Jeff wants to know what you do to get these bass to bite when the going's a bit tough, but you've got them schooled up under you.
That's a good question. That's actually what happened at Glenville on the weekend. There was plenty of fish on the sounder in a few schools, very tight to the bottom. Bit hard to get them to bite sort of after that morning bite. Actually, Tom and Ben Hago's little tip to blade, and we're just annoying them pretty much with blades and that double hop off the bottom and finally get a few to bite. But you sort of get one in a school, and then even if you put it in the well, not back in the school, you get one, that was it. You have to move on to the next school. So, yeah, just annoy them. That was pretty much all we did, and got a few fish.
Yeah, just keep annoying them, basically. Is that right?
Yeah, just annoy them. Yeah, just get that vibration in their face, and eventually you're going to annoy them enough that they will hit something. Usually a blade or an ice jig.
Yep. So with your technique for that, that's obviously a winter thing. I know it was a winter thing in Queensland, but it's just basically annoying them so they aggressively strike at the thing to get it out of their area. They're not really eating. Is that right?
Yeah, look, I'd agree with that. They're just being annoyed by the vibration. It's sort of in their face. They're not those big fish that sort of still do need to feed a little bit over winter, and it's just annoying them enough to want them to swat it out of their area.
Yeah, I know. A few years back, when I was coing, I drew Greg Mitchell, and it was at Boondooma, and I thought, oh yeah, local guy, I'm in for a shot here, and we actually sat in probably the one area for the 7-hour session ice jigging in the one spot. Because it didn't matter if you moved, you just had to sit there and annoy the hell out of them.
Yeah, it does get a bit monotonous, and a few people find a little bit boring, that vertical jigging, but that straight up and down stuff. But if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do to get the fish in the well.
Yep, that's it. So Bo's asked a question here. As getting started as a non-boater, should I bring 1 or 2 rods and like a mixed tray of lures or a bag of stuff? Just not wanting to crowd the boat up with my stuff. So Bo's very keen to get involved in the bass side of things, and he's been looking forward to this episode to get your guys' views on what to do and what not to do. Nick, you can give your view on what you allow in your boat. I'll give my view on what I allow in my boat. But Tim, you've been out with nearly everyone in the field, so everyone's got their different little idiosyncrasies. How do you set yourself up for a comp?
So normally I start like a couple of weeks before, just with a bit of research. So you're not bringing useless stuff, because if you look at some of the guys' boats, I've got a tackle room that looks like that with trays and trays and trays of lures. Obviously, I can't take it all. So you've got to narrow it down. And again, the research helps you very much so. If you've been lucky enough to get there a few weeks before the comp and trial that and have some stuff up your sleeve, bring that with you. But I think the big thing with the amount is you get to have a good chat with your boater on the evening of the pre-fish when they do the draws. So ask them, what's your rod limit? And it's really important to do that, not turn up like with a fridge and everything, but speak to them and say, what's your limits? I've got a smallish tackle bag that fits in because most boaters will give you like a little space under the deck, a square space. So I've got a bag and I've pretty well got to fit everything in there. And I've learnt to trim it right back. Like if you're going, say it's a spoon bite at Somerset, you don't need to bring 50. You can, try and work out what spoons are working best and focus on them, and then a couple of different variances left and right of it, but be it, 10 grams heavier or a different color or something like that. But yeah, you don't need hundreds of lures. You're not, with maybe a brim comp, you might need a lot of jig heads or something like that. You might lose a lot of gear, but not so much with the bass tournament. So it's knowing what you think you're going to need to bring, and work with that. But what's really good now, especially with ABT and shared weight, is I've had a few boaters who will go, right, I want you to use this, so I didn't bring that. And so we work as a team together, and it's just basically, well, if I lose it, just tell me what you want to replace it or what cash or whatever. So, yeah, just talk with your boater, find out what they want. It's a smaller boat, maybe you'll be down to 2 rods, but sometimes I'm taking 4 rods on the boat if the boater's happy with that. But try and keep it as trimmed as possible.
Yep, excellent. That's a great answer. Nick, what about yourself?
Yeah, just do a little bit of research before you attend whatever tournament you're going to fish. You're not going to take spoons to Glenbourne in spring when it's a jig bite. So, that little bit of research will, first of all, narrow down what you are going to take to the tournament. And then, when you get paired up at the briefing, go find your boater, have a chat. They'll say, I've got this size boat, you can bring 2 rods or 4 rods. Like my boat, 4 or 5 rods is fine. There's room there for those and a tackle bag and room for your lunch. And then generally we'll have a chat at the briefing and say, tomorrow we'll probably throw these type of things, bring those. And as Tim said, if the non-angler or the co-boater hasn't got something and the boater does and it's working, they're going to say, well, here, mate, tie this on. This is shared weight. We both need to be throwing this. And they're happy to, give you a lure or a spoon or a jig or whatever's working just to get that shared weight up. So you're both, in the hunt. Yeah,
I think you're both dead right there with the scenario. That whole shared weight scenario has sort of changed the landscape a little bit, but I've still turned up to comps where I haven't met my co-boater until I've put the boat in on Saturday morning. I think that, Tim's one of the great ones that goes and meets and chats with everyone and talks with everyone. But not only that, he sits on the boat ramp and backs 4 or 5 boats down for everyone else and whatnot. There's nothing worse of you starting off. If you can't back the trailer, that's fine. Talk to your guys and work it out together. And I can tell you there's nothing better than a bag of lollies or something that come out halfway through a session when it's a bit tough and the coey's got a bag of lollies. I do love that. And Tim's renowned for the old lollies in the boat or the beef jerky or something, aren't you, Tim?
Always got to have something, yeah. And you learn, different people's favourites. If Mr. Bass Cat, you've got to have peppermint patties or home-baked goods, which is lucky, which I'm really going to miss, the slosses. Nothing better than having a Cindy bag in the fridge waiting for you when you wake up on Saturday and Sunday morning. It's just magic. But having something to share, the guys who own these bass boats, that's their pride and joy. So, you've got to take care of, as best you can, their boat and them a bit, yeah. And when a boat has dropped a big fish and they're like, they're looking pretty dark and blue, and you just shove a bag of Allen snakes under their nose, it kind of, breaks that moment a bit.
It definitely does. It definitely does. I love, and as why I handpicked Tim for this, he is one of the better co-boaters out there. You always find I don't. A lot of the time, if I've had a really tough session or have struggled to get us onto fish or something's gone wrong, I never. If they offer me money, I never take it. But Tim's one of these guys that 6 months later you'll be going through your glove box and you'll find a little note and a $20 or a $50 in there saying, this is from Glenbourne. You didn't even know it was there. So he always puts it in. Listen.
Well, you could get really lucky and find a Maltese sandwich.
I find them in my boat all the time. Listen, postcode prize has been given away. For those guys that are regulars on the show, you'll know that my son Harry sits inside intrepidly looking for a random winner of the postcode, and it is Jeremy Windsor from Huntley 3551. Jeremy, you've won the postcode prize tonight, so you need to send me a message on my Facebook page and I will get your prize out to you. And I just want to give another little shout out. I love to give shout outs to people that deserve it. There's a company down here, McGrath Lures. I'll turn it up the right way. McGrath Lures. They've had look after a lot of the guys in the cod scene and whatnot. But that's a box of vibes that's been donated from McGrath Lures. And that'll be going your way, Jeremy, when you send me your details. So that's a really good valued box, that one. So let's keep the questions rolling in, guys. We've given away the postcode. Next one's going to go to a good question from Mark, another one that asks a lot of questions for us. We'll start with you, Nick. Pros and cons of being a co-boater. Mark's never fished an ABT.
Well, all I can see is pros of being a co-boater. You just turn up with your rods and away you go. That's the easy part. Yeah, I don't think there's too many cons of being a co-boater. I suppose if you've got an idea in your head of where you want to fish, it is shared way for the ABT. So you really are working as that team of two to get those fish. So, the boaters obviously got to get the boat there. They've got to travel. They've got all those sorts of bits and pieces for the boater. But yeah, like co-boating, I can't see there's really any cons of being a co-boater.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, if you want to learn, it's the quickest way. You'll learn more in a year of co-boating than you will in 10 years of fishing yourself. You're going out with several different people. You're going out in several different setups. If you're looking to buy a boat or set a boat up, to go and do one season of co-boating will give you the pros and cons of every boat. I think it's just a bonus. I wish I had done it for a full 12 months. I only did it for about 4 comps, and a bit the same as you. They were a bit short. They come up to Boondooma. I ran the caravan park at the time. I'd done 2 or 3 comps as a co-boater, and they were short, so I grabbed the boat out of the shed and went down and did that and never looked back from there. I wish I'd have done a little bit more. I never got to fish with the likes of, Morgo or Killer or guys like that and learn off the secrets of the trade for those guys. So I think it's all positives. What about you, Tim?
What about me?
Yeah, well, you must think that there's plenty of pros that have been doing it for 14 years.
All right. So, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. Look, I haven't. I've only got a little tinny. I did my first pro event, which was the Oz Open last year, because I drove all the way down from Bundaberg to Glenbourne and St Clair, and with the group I was with, I was going to have to stay there. And I thought, well, at least in the Oz Open, that was one thing I could do. Without ruining somebody's day, because as it was horrible weather and I couldn't get out past the boat ramp, so I had to fish in there. But as a co-boater, it's you can say you can just turn up and that's all you have to do. But you can get so much more out of it if you put into it, if that makes sense. Like, talk to your boater, but don't annoy them. Read their moods when they lose 70 metres of braid with a wind knot or something like that. You sort of got to know when to shut up and put your head down, and but also know when to have a bit of a laugh. Yeah, because that's I think is the biggest thing, is enjoying your fishing. If you're not doing that, it's not worth doing. But yeah, the benefits are just amazing. I know myself. my first bass tournament, I drove again from Bundaberg to St Clair, and I got the probably one of the greatest bass anglers ever, Johnny Schofield and Wayne Blundell, as the first two anglers I ever got, and that was amazing, absolutely amazing. Watching them, watch what they do, looking at what I hadn't been doing very well until then, but yeah. With that comp, I was happened to be standing in a tackle store, and somebody said, "Oh, do you want to go in a bass tournament?" This gentleman, his wife's not going to go with him, so he wants somebody to drive down to Glenbourne. Dave Robinson. Yeah, sure. Where's Glenbourne? What's a bass?
What's a bass? And the rest is history.
Yeah.
So your first tournament, you drew Wayne Blundell and Scoey.
Yeah.
Jesus, what a draw! You know, that's unbelievable. Did you come close to winning it? Did they put you on fish or what?
Oh, I was just happy to get a limit, which was great. I think I came about 18th or 19th, which was great. But it's just the experience of doing it, and straight away that first comp was it just showed me what ABT was about. It was hilarious. Who was it? Timmy Morgan was staying with John Schofield, and John forgot my name, didn't know, who's my boater, who's my coey, and Tim Morgan told him my name was Brian. And because I was in awe of all of these guys from reading magazines for years, I just let him call me Brian all day and didn't correct him until we got back to the boat ramp. And Tim Morgan goes to me, "How'd you go, Tim?" And he went, John looks at me and goes, "I thought your name was Brian." All day I let him call me Brian because I was just like, yeah, well, if he wants to call me Brian, I'm just going to let him call me Brian. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. Right, we've got another question here. Calissa's asked, how many non-boater spaces do they offer for a competition? Are you definitely going to get a spot? Which one of you guys wants to answer that for Calissa?
I can answer that. Look,
yep.
The best way to get a guaranteed start is on the same entry form as a boater. You won't fish together, but obviously for the paperwork side of it for ABT, it makes it a lot easier if you're both on the same entry form and you have to travel together, or at least the majority of the way together. I mean, obviously you don't live in the same town. It's not exactly together, but travel the majority of the way together on the same entry form. That will give you a guaranteed start. If you put in an entry form by yourself as a non-boater, then as the boater side fills up, obviously they'll match a non-boater to the equivalent amount of people, obviously, who enter as a boater.
So it's a first in, first serve sort of basis if you're not a guaranteed coach.
And you'll get people who will get the draw come out for the year, and especially co-boaters, and they'll just put in for every one of them because, most people know they can get there. Some people, obviously, you have to wait for work rosters or time off, but you're guaranteed if you're going on the entry form with someone you know or someone who's looking to travel up with someone. That's often how it sometimes happens. People travel from an area and say, I'm travelling from the Hunter Valley. Is any non-boaters want to travel up? And sometimes you get paired up and you're going on the same entry form that way. But there are some people that do get that phone call saying, terribly sorry, we haven't got enough boaters. Or they'll do it the other way around and say, listen, we need a couple more boaters for this round. If anyone's thinking about it, we've got a couple of non-boaters who want a chance to have a fish. So sometimes they'll try and even it up that way.
Yep. Tim, you got anything to add?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how it works. I know myself. I've got that disappointing phone call where on Thursday it's like, you're in, no, you're not, you're in, no, and then yep. So yeah, that particular comp I'd driven from Gympie to Brisbane. I was in Brisbane for work, and I was finishing on Thursday afternoon, waiting to see if I drove back to Gympie or down to the Rivers area in New South Wales. But no, I missed it by one. Yeah. So that can happen, but you don't lose your money. They, they either refund it to you or ask, do you want to go into the list for the next one? And it's just, am I right in saying that occasionally they've had two co-boaters on the odd boat?
I think there was a couple of comps a couple of years ago that they ended up.
They were already there.
Yeah, they were
so
already there.
They will try to make exceptions to get everybody to have a fish, but if somebody I know there's been events where the boaters got chronically ill over on Saturday night and had to go to hospital. So, you
I think
can't
that
help
was all
life.
before shared weight, Tim.
Yep. Hey?
I think that was all before shared weight.
Yeah.
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 The basic is that, to answer your question, Calissa, is get your cash in early and you're at the top of the list and you won't miss out. Otherwise, there's an ABT Facebook page. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's an ABT Facebook page that you can get on there and give people write the question that you want to fish a comp, and if anyone wants to go guaranteeing, they'll, then you communicate through there.
Yeah, that's the ABT Angler.
Angler, that's it. ABT Angler Facebook page. So jump on that one if you need to ask a few questions if you want to get on there. All right, Matty Langford's actually asked a real question for you, Tim. What are some of the good co-boater etiquettes?
Pants is a good start. Then followed by, the same thing. You've got to respect the angler. You've got to respect their, if they want things to happen in a certain way. So I know before shared weight, some anglers would have very strict rules about where you should and should not cast. And, it's their boat. You just got to follow that if that's what that person wants. But now more so with shared weight, if they want you in on it. So that, you've virtually got double the chances of getting a result. Cleanliness is a big thing. Don't make a mess of somebody's boat, and keep your stuff organised. I mean, I'm saying that when I'm probably the worst at it. But if they want to take off, they don't want you scratching around. Oh, I've got to put this jumper away, and I've got to, pack that up and do this. So, as much as you want to get the lure in the water all the time, if you're changing lures, put it in the box, put it back in your tackle bag, and so keep yourself a bit organised there. And with cleanliness, especially places like Glenbourne, clean your feet. These boats are worth a fortune, and nobody wants muddy footprints or sand or where was it that had a heap of burrs, and you'd walk to the weigh-in and back, and it's the burrs everywhere in the carpet. You check your shoes before you get on the boat, or take them off. Most guys will have a towel there for you. If not, just put a little one in your bag yourself. Snacks is always good. And something to offer. A lot of boaters, quite a few boaters, will knock you back, but that's okay. The important thing is that you're always offer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally they'll take food when you're out there eating. So have that. Have a spare cold drink in your bag. So I've got my bag organised now that I've trimmed it down far enough that I can just put everything in there. It'll have my life jacket in there, food, couple of drinks, and then some tackle. But as I said, I like to keep it as light as possible, but still have a reasonable chance of doing fish.
Can you see that, Tim?
I can see that. That was a heartfelt present to you, wasn't it?
So that was a present Tim gave me a couple of years ago when I left Queensland, because he didn't like the way I cut the sandwiches when we went out for lunch on the boat. There's apparently a special way to cut Tim's sandwiches. He refused to eat the sandwich because I didn't cut them right.
How can you get past the crust if there's no cut? It's like an impenetrable barrier. Huh? That's also part of co-boater etiquette that weekend, because that was one of the double headers, the Queensland double header. You were having boat issues.
Yep.
If you get in with a group and you're a co, obviously I haven't got a big boat, so I couldn't really help there. But what I could do was get into the kitchen and organise it, because, God, you guys were pigs.
Adrian, sorry, not me.
Adrian was the New South Wales boys. It was hopeless, wasn't it? See that kitchen when they got there?
Yeah.
And when you came back in, it was in order. Yeah.
It was, and you did very well that weekend, and that's exactly right. I suppose to go back on to Langer's question is, sometimes shit does go wrong and issues are out there. Sometimes it's not the time to joke. Just jump in and do something else and help the guys out. But, definitely clean shoes.
Yes, and that's where I got the name Dobby, because I was in the kitchen making everybody's lunches and cooking dinners and doing all of that stuff while you guys were all playing with your boats and sorting stuff out, and which you got to do, which just means you're doing two jobs at once. You take care of each other, and happy days in the camp.
It's always happy days when you're around. We've got a question back here from Shane. Shane runs some comps down Victoria Way, and he's, I think this year, or hopefully in this next season he's going to do a bass comp at Blue Rock. I'm looking forward to that. But his question is, should bass comp start thinking about brag mat scoring? So like the photo catch and release rather than taking the fish back to the live well. Now, without getting overly political, what are your thoughts on that, Nick?
Look, I'm more. I like taking the fish back to the weigh-in. It adds to the atmosphere of the comp, of the weigh-in. A lot of the weigh-ins where they can, probably with the exception of St Clair because of lack of phone reception, they go out on Facebook Live, which again interests more people in the sport. It brings people to want to fish. The fish swim away healthy. Bass are very, very hardy. If it's an exceptionally hot day, you might have to, put an ice brick in there or something. But, I mean, we don't fish ABT in the really hot summer months anyway. So they're a hardy fish. They swim away. You'll see kids come to a weigh-in and they're in awe of these bass and guys with these bags of bass. And, I think the live weigh-in side of it just really adds to the atmosphere of the tournament and the fishing side of it. And,
look, I totally agree with that. Yes, I do. And the other thing that I think we should do more in Australia with these bass comps is the drive-through weigh-in scenario. I know it's more to organise and it's, that sort of thing. But with the drive-through weigh-in, the fish are staying in the live well until you're walking them to the stage. You're walking back off the stage, putting them back in the live well, so they're getting good oxygen, they're getting good temperature, and they're not out in a bag for long periods of time while you're waiting in the line. So, and I don't think there's too many venues where you couldn't really hold a successful drive-through weigh-in. St Clair, Glenbourne, Somerset, they're all places where you can pull your boats out and go in order for that. Tim, have you got an answer for that one?
I'm I've done obviously with the Barra tournaments. It's a bit hard to fit 2 metres into a live well. Got to have a really big boat, QE2. But apparently you can get cruise ships now pretty cheap. It does. There's that atmosphere at the end of it, and even for yourself as a competitor, whether you've won, lost, or drawn, it's that mingling. Oh, what did you do? How did you go? And then you get up, if you do get up on stage and you're having a bit of a chat, and you can see kids there and they're paying attention and families, and I think that's one of the ways to bring people into the sport is it's there. They can see the fish, they can hear people talk about what's actually happening, and it's real, it's tangible. Whereas, photo popping up on a computer, there's your winner. Whilst, it might be a way of the future, but there's something about the atmosphere of the weigh-in which is really cool. I like it, especially standing around those weigh-in tanks where, will this put me in 4th or 5th or drop me to 6th? And everybody's having a bit of a jibe and looking over in each other's bags. Yeah, it's all good fun.
I do agree. I think with the whole weigh-in scenario, we get caught up in the political correctness of it all and all the banter that goes on about holding fish wrong and doing all of that. In realistic terms, throughout a whole season of say ABT, we don't want to put names in front of things. It doesn't matter if it's Basstastic or Family Bassin or whatever it is. The amount of fish lost is realistically nothing, and just because you're a tournament angler doesn't mean you can't take a fish either. So I mean, by rights, we could take the 4 fish that we caught over the weekend and take them home. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I think it gets a bit political correct, but I agree with both of you. The atmosphere with the weigh-ins is pretty cool. I would hate to see it done in a Barra comp or a cod comp. Even with the yellow belly comps, they're a little bit harder to keep in the wells, but bass are pretty hardy little rockets.
Yeah, they sure
definitely.
Shane's got enough money to he could sponsor a whole massive live well tank on the back of a truck. So if he wants to sponsor that, that'd be great, mate.
Yeah, look, I've seen, we don't have the money in the States, but I've seen them where they've got torpedo tubes that are 200 metres long that they put the fish in at one end and they shoot at 200 metres out there in the friggin' lake. I mean, there's some amazing technology out there. Not that we've got that much money. Okay, here's one. This is a good one from Mark. If you could choose anyone to fish with, who would it be and why?
I'm going to go with a safe one with this. I would love to go for another fish with my dad, but he's no longer with us.
And I know that you and your dad were, long-term fisher people together. Let's go with an unsafe one. Let's think about, Mark's obviously looking at getting into the tournament scene. Let's go with somebody that he should aspire to go fishing with. I'll start you both off since you can't answer it. I'd love to fish with Killer. Steve Kanowski is somebody that I never got to fish with. I think his knowledge would be insane. He could teach me more in 10 minutes on the boat than I reckon I've learned in my lifetime. So my bet would be Killer.
Yeah, Killer's been around for a long time on the scene and absolutely lovely bloke and actually good at travel tips. When I was going to Hawaii, he gave me plenty of tips about Hawaii. So, Killer's a good one. If I could fish with anyone, who would it be? Look, one guy that's given me a heap of advice and a heap of help last year was Adrian Melton. And believe it or not, I actually haven't fished with him. Well, actually, I observed on his boat for the Open. But he has just been really good and given me a lot of tips and tricks and has gone into his own tackle box and said, throw this, try this. I still haven't fished with him and we've become good mates over the last 12 months. And probably someone left field would probably be someone crazy like, he's no longer with us, but Steve Irwin, just that passionate, crazy sort of a guy. Absolute ball with fishing boat.
Yep. Now you're going to have another crack at it, Tim?
Well, having been a co-boater for some time, I've been so lucky to fish with so many great people. Yeah, I got to fish with Killer, and how humbling was that when he's sitting there with his magic wand at Somerset, pulling in fish on fly. And at that time, I didn't have a fly rod; I couldn't use a fly, and so I'm trying to emulate something with plastics. And just sitting there watching him getting fish. It was an amazing event. But so many great people I've fished with, so it'd be hard to pick any one of them. So I think you'd have to do something out of left field and just go with something crazy.
Yeah, and I suppose there's a few of the older names like you got to fish with them at Glenbourne. Like I was lucky enough to fish with Blundell a couple of times, but Schofield and Greenie and Harry Watson and guys like that, Carl Jockinson. I'd love to get in the boat and pick all of there's no one really that of those older crew that I probably wouldn't get in the boat with. Looking for some more questions here. Keep them coming. I suppose we should nearly give away another prize for a question. That'll get the questions coming in.
Yeah, got plenty of stuff to give away from Vex Performance Lewis tonight. We've got 4 packs to give away. So
yes. Before we go on to Rodney's question here, what Vex have looked after us tonight, and they've given us. Did you say four different packs?
Yeah, so there's 4 packs. The jersey over my right shoulder, probably left on your screen, that is going to go to the youngest kid watching tonight, who probably should be in bed, but we won't worry about that. That's a small kid's jersey, and I say Vex really look after the kids. In the other packs, there's hats, stickers, there's swim jigs, the bread and butter blades, assist hooks, all bits and pieces there. So there's four of those to give away.
All right, so we have got 4 Vex prize packs to give away tonight. So don't forget to start asking some serious questions. Brody, how you going, Brody? With lots of Wivenhoe Dam cut and vegetation dried out, what's your thoughts on the next comp? So Brody's new to the co-boater scene.
Well, I got a report from Wivenhoe on the weekend. And if it was a catfish comp, it'd be awesome. It's going to be a bass comp, and it might be a little bit slow. The guys just couldn't get their lures past the catfish to get to the bass. I think a couple of mates are out there who fish ABT, and I think they got one bass for like 7 hours because the caddies were so thick.
Yeah.
So it might be a little tough on the bass scene. I think there's been a comp at Wivenhoe where one bass won it. So I'm good at catching 1 or 2 fish, so I might be in with a chance. I haven't really seen I haven't been to Ivanhoe, so it's the first time for me. So I can't probably answer the side of the vegetation side of it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a little tough our next round up there. But as you know, as we all know, you know, not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before at Glenbourne, fished quite well for a family bass and pros event. A lot of blokes got their bag of 5 in each of the 3 sessions. We were there this weekend, and it was a little tougher. So it can change from week to week.
Yeah, no, that's true. Tim, what about yourself? How do you think Ivanhoe's going to fish?
Well, I haven't been there I haven't been there in years. Last time I was there, I took out the one of the ABT Bass electric rounds. That was a couple of years ago. I've got the patch here somewhere, one of them. But yeah, it's Somerset and Ivanhoe have been always a bit of a struggle for me. It's either that I'm hoping it might be a bit sort of wintry for that real jackal edge bite, which I like at Ivanhoe. And I'm kind of thinking it'll be out in the schools, and as you said, with the caddies, it can be interesting. But at least you catch something. So I think it'll be just a wait and see. I don't really know too much about how Ivanhoe's going at the moment, but you know, from here on in, over the next 4 weeks, that's when you start doing your research, going back through old, like last year's copies of Queensland Fishing Monthly, reading the reports from the last 3 or 4 years back in a similar month, and a month either side. Go and check those. But that's also another great way of getting into the tournament scene, is have a go at the Bass Electrics. You don't need a wonderful big electric boat, a fiberglass boat, a little tinny like mine, 4.1 electric on the front, and a little live well, and off you go. And if you haven't got a live well, you can put a aerator in an esky, as long as it's bigger than 60 litres. So that's a good way of getting into the competition scene, to see if you want to have a go without forking out all that cash.
Yeah, it is a great series, and they do a wonderful job with, I think Joey Urquhart's taken it over in the last couple of years and doing all the weigh-ins and stuff like that. It is a great bunch of guys and girls, and they get out there and have fun. I think Ivanhoe, to answer your question, Brody, is a mindset. I love Ivanhoe. I would prefer to fish Ivanhoe than Somerset. There is bigger fish, I believe, in Ivanhoe. They are, like any dam, they can be hard or easy to catch. You can go through periods, like Nick said, with the catfish are on the chew, and you just can't get a lure anywhere near anything. But Ivanhoe does fish well. The guys that I think that will fish it are the guys that go in with a little bit of confidence. Your Bass Electric guys that have been there a few times. I've had monster sessions, over 100 fish in 4 hours at Ivanhoe at different times. So, it's a great waterway. And if you go in with thinking the right things, I think, they'll be the ones that'll win it. But I was at that comp where one fish won it. And, that weekend it was a little bit tough.
Shit. But that can happen anywhere. I know I won a contest at Lenthal's Bass Electric Series, and I caught the only fish that was weighed in for the whole comp, and that holds the esteemed record with ABT of being the smallest, biggest bass ever to win biggest bass.
How big was it?
About 350 grams.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm trying to go back and find that question from before, but I've lost it. Paul Langley, there it is. What are your 3 lures that you would have in your tackle pack regardless of the destination? That's a great question. I like that one.
Oh, that's just going to put you down into meltdown, isn't it?
Yeah,
wow.
Do you want, I'll go for it so you guys can think about it. Straight up, I don't go anywhere without a spoon. It wouldn't matter if I was trout fishing, yellow belly fishing, bass, or even barra. I'm even now throwing spoons for cod. So I wouldn't go anywhere without some sort of spoon. A TN60 would be in my kit no matter where I go. Use them Kenya, Somerset, Ivanhoe, Bunduma. Doesn't really matter. You can use them at Glenbourne, Sinclair. And I suppose a humble old soft plastic of in some way, shape, or form, probably a gulp. That would be my 3.
Yeah, it's a tough one, regardless of destination. I mean, there's that many places you can fish with so many different species of fish. But I'd probably agree. Yeah, the spoon's pretty versatile. I mean, you can even throw them in the surf. I mean, when I first started fishing AB2, people are dragging out twisties and stuff, Halco twisties. I'm like, you throw them at salmon and stuff at the beach. You don't throw them a bass. But obviously, I've learnt since, obviously you do when they work quite well. So I'd agree with you on the spoon side of it. Something like a 65 mil hard body, like a Predatech, pretty versatile on cod. You can troll them, throw them, cast them. And the bass lead them, like, most of my early bass back in the early days were caught on a 65 mil, like down under or Predatech as they are now. So there's probably two. And yeah, a soft plastic, you can't go past a soft plastic for pretty much anywhere. Most fish will eat them, they imitate that bait fish and they eat them. Cod, even your snapper, love your nuclear chickens and all those sorts of things. So you can't beat a soft plastic.
Yep.
So if I had to take 3 for a bass tournament, I'd say number 1, Bassman spinnerbait. It's my favourite colour right there. As you said, TN60, and again the ever or TN50 or 60, whichever way you want to go. And soft plastics. They're they're a pretty versatile type of thing. That would be my 3 for chasing bass. Yep,
excellent question. I think we'll give Paul a prize because that's probably one of the better questions we've asked. So do you want to give him one of yours or I'll give him one of mine, mate?
No, we'll give him. We can give him one of the Vex packs.
Yep.
That'd be great.
All right. So, Paul, if you can get a hold of me through my Facebook page, send me your details. I will forward them on to Nick so we can get you a Vex prize pack out. That'll be awesome. And thanks very much again to Vex. We'll do a bit of a shout out to them later on for giving up the prize packs for this one. All right. Still going through. Calissa, my daughter's 10 and she is watching.
I turned off all the public comments because I know there'll be some stuff there.
Yeah, no. Well, Calissa's obviously going for the small shirt because she knows that her daughter is 1 year younger than my son, who's on there watching. Simon Burke's got a question here. What's the number 1 fish on your bucket list that you would love to catch?
Well, a decent barra, big barra. I haven't really targeted them. I've got a couple of little ones here and there, but yeah, chasing the big barra would because I've caught big marlin, like 300 plus kilo marlin and big yellowfin and all those big kingfish and stuff. And look, that is awesome, and I do it fairly regularly as well. But the one I haven't got is he's a big barra.
Was the big barra? Yep. What about you, Tim?
I'm still yet to catch a cod. I would like to go and get a decent cod. I tried once, but the guide was pretty rubbish. I don't know what he was doing.
Didn't I drop a trout that was a monster on the back of the boat? I think I did.
That was the next day. Yeah.
No.
It was a big trout. Yeah.
It was. But anyway.
Yes, but I'm very keen to do the cod thing.
Oh, well, you're always welcome to come down and do one of the Chewin the Fat challenges, and we'll get some cod.
I'm not going to Victoria, you germy people.
We can do it in New South Wales. That's all right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got to see 40. He said I could come to his house.
Yeah, that's it. So my bucket list fish, obviously with a million other people, is obviously a PNG black bass. But I would love to go to Florida and chase big tarpon on fly. I'm getting really addicted to watching YouTube videos of the Florida Keys and watching those big sand flats and throwing flies to those massive tarpon that make barra look small. So, they're probably on my lotto list more than bucket list because I don't think I could ever afford them. All right, Ricky. No, wrong person. Ricky Goward here. What's your biggest blooper in the boat? We'll start with you, Tim.
Where do you want to start? And there's photographic evidence of most of it. One that probably hurt was with Keegan Painter dropping a big bass at where were we? St Clair, I think, which would have taken us into the top 2. Instead, we ended up 6th. I did spend on Matthew Langford's boat when I first met him and fished with him. I had some chartreuse dip, and I thought I'd spilt it, and I spent about an hour and a half covertly trying to rub it off, and it was actually a chartreuse piece of a sticker. So I'm hiding away from it. Can't get this stuff off the gunnel. Trying to do that. Yeah, there's some good ones. Yeah.
No, I think just before you do yours, Nick, I think the biggest blooper I've ever seen in an ABT tournament was somebody was doing some photography. If I get the story right, Tim, and you didn't know that they had the zoom lens in the boat in front of you, and you're actually hanging off the back of the boat having a piss.
Well, yeah, and then they put that onto the interwebs, which apparently goes worldwide. And we were up at Kenya, and they got a phone call from somebody in Melbourne saying, "Well, do you want to take that guy's penis off your website?" I think Leon Walker's got that wallpapered on a roof of the bedroom. Well, that's what she told me anyway.
Yeah. So what's yours, Nick? What's your biggest blooper on the boat?
Oh, I know why Ricky asked this question because he was there for it. Yes, we were fishing, I think it was Burrinjuck, for a bit of a social comp. Did the old, launch the boat early, run straight down to the damn wall, get down there, start throwing a couple of casts, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? What's this water in the boat? And it had rained a little bit the night before, so I very rarely take the bungs out of my boat. And so the night before it rained, a bit of rain in the boat, so I took the bungs out. So obviously when I've launched the boat in a big hurry, let's go fishing, let's catch some fish, went down to the wall and then realised that my feet were getting wet and had the bilge pump going flat out. After a while, just managed to get the boat on the plane to get a little bit more water out. But this was probably 6 o'clock in the morning, and then had to wait 2 hours for the shop to open to get another bung.
I'll tell you, talking about bungs, I'll tell you a funny story about bungs. There's a previous guest of the show, Mick Johnson and Greg Mitchell, were fishing a tournament in my old boat, which is a 21-foot nitro, and they thought the motor was playing up because they couldn't get it onto the plane all day. And they finally got it back in and on the boat, on the trailer after fishing in it for 7 hours and realised that they'd left the bung out all day.
Everyone's done it once.
Yeah. So they didn't notice that all day that obviously it didn't have an automatic bilge pump. It just filled up with water and the level flotation kept it in the right spot. So, just 7 hours in the boat with the bung out.
But the bonus of that weekend was I actually won the comp, so...
Oh, that's even better. All right, we've got one here from Rodney O'Sullivan. Are you a fan of the shared weight? Do you feel they've really achieved their results? Brim is an individual weight.
Well, I'm a fan of the shared weight because it works both ways. Obviously, being a new boater myself, I've had some great co-boaters that have co-boated for a long time, and so they're teaching me things, especially if you go to Queensland on a Queensland dam, which you haven't fished before, and you get a Queenslander, well, their knowledge, is going into the team to get that shared weight. So, I mean, it's helping, me if I'm up there in a Queensland dam, down here, the local dams, I fish a bit better. Like, I had Darren Greenstreet for the second day of the Glenmore round, and he's a Queenslander, and he decided to get a spoon out. Didn't work. Works up there. So I think it does achieve the result because it sort of gets you work as a team. You're sort of involved. But Brim is individual. Look, I'm going to fish my first Brim tournament, next month. In the Berkeley Super Series. So I could probably answer that question a little bit better after that. But I think you just fish more as a team with the shared weight and sort of more inclusive and you're a team.
Yeah, look, I don't obviously think that it's probably going to hang around forever, to be truthful, but I think it's serving a purpose. Australian fishing was in a bit of a lull. We just lost Bass Nation. There's twos and fro's for both. If you look at the world today, if you look for the negatives, and that's all you'll see. So I think there is just as many positives in the whole shared weight scenario as what there is in negative. So, Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I've been doing it long enough in the bass and obviously did a few brim comps. Yeah, to have done both, and I know at times being a coe in the early days of bass, sometimes you can sort of get a bit cut off, so you're only ever fishing water that's been fished before you, and that can be a lot with when you're bass fishing, especially with edges, things like that. And then when it went to shared weights, it goes both ways. I know I've had days as on the back of the boat where I've outfished boaters, and I've had days where I've been a brilliant netman. And that's just the way it goes. But if you're actually working well as a team, even though you don't get fish, you might be eliminating a technique that's not working, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So whilst the boaters could doing a technique and they're going, well, maybe try this, maybe try this, maybe try that. You're cycling through and working out, what is your plan B, what is your plan C. But I quite like it because it gets you straight away. The two of you are a team. It's a mini team on a boat for those sessions, and the more you work together, the more you'll get out of it. And I think the one and only round that was run this year with 2470 and Mal Drapier taking it out, and they work perfectly as a team, one with surface and one running the lure just underneath it.
Yeah, that's true. That's Mel Draper and 2470. All right. We'll get on.
Sorry, Matthew Langford.
Yes, we know. Hat on, hat off. Nick Brown's asked, did you like the co-boater draw at the briefing or a few days prior to the comp like they did at Sinclair? Obviously, at Sinclair, we'd just come into the start of the COVID stuff, so they had to change a few things, and they let the information out a lot earlier for the co-boater draws, and he's probably asking, should they keep it that way?
Well, I wasn't there for that one, so I can't help you.
Yeah, I missed the Sinclair round. I went and got married in Hawaii. But, look, I can see the benefits of both ways to do it. I'm only used to obviously getting your coe, that night and meeting them then. I could also see the benefits of having it a few days before. You can contact each other and maybe get a bit of a plan together for a pre-fish. And your co-boater can, obviously say, well, what do I need to bring? What don't I need to bring? Those sorts of things. So your preparation could be a little bit better if you do know who your co-boater is that couple of days before.
Yep. I think it's got its merit. It really does. So if we're talking about, helping people out and whatnot and what to take, if you're getting your draw on the Wednesday before you go, the positive sides are you get to contact, but the negative sides are, I suppose, and why they don't do it is because of people not getting along. If they drew the wrong person, they mightn't turn up. So there's probably a really big positive and negative for both.
And also with the Friday night draws, it's such a buzz there. You get you guys know the feeling. It's all charged and everybody's excited, and a couple of beers and a bit of banter and a bit of fun, and then you get your draws and you get to have a bit of a chat. I just like the feeling of the personal factor, but I understand why they had to do it with the spacings and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. No, there you go, Nick. We've got one here from Amber. I've noticed a lack of women entering ABT. Why do you think this is, and what can we do to encourage women to enter?
We actually discussed this topic at the G20 Summit on
the weekend. Yep.
And look, there are a few women that do it. Leon Walker, she was one of my coes at the Richmond round.
And can fish.
And can fish and can cast and is accurate as a bullseye. And it was funny, Jason DeForest is going to get his wife Deb to write an article. It's going to be titled Fishing with Burly Men and Wanting to Wee, because Obviously, and as Tim said, the boys can have a wee off the back of the boat, where the girls can't. So, you know, and obviously that's my wife asking that question. But she has come to briefings and has met sort of the guys I fish with, and they're very welcoming. You know, they're not, and that big burly men sort of title is, you know, sort of a bit of a taking the piss. But look, everyone I've found this first 12 months has been so welcoming, so friendly. I've stayed at people's houses that I didn't know, you know, a few months before a comp. I'm not sure why the women don't enter. I mean, look, the guys are very accommodating. Look, most of us have got wives and girlfriends, and you know, I've got teenage daughters, which was the first person that interrupted the live feed trying to ring me to say, "Are you on yet?" And I think guys will be accommodating, and especially if you're at a small place like St Clair or somewhere where it's only a quick dash back to the toilet block. You know, you can duck to the toilet and you know, facilitate that for the ladies. I think. I mean, you got Vanessa Bennett down at Mulwala. I mean, she fishes every comp known to man down there, and again, Mulwala, if the girls need to duck to the toilet, there's plenty of toilet blocks around the place. But I just think it's like anything. If once a few more women get into it and see, you know, it's doable. It's the guys are accommodating. You know, they're not these macho bullheads that some people possibly think they are. I mean, and they're not. I mean, they're a bunch of great guys. You know, and she actually made the comment saying there's some not bad-looking guys on the ABT scene, so some of her single friends should actually jump into the sport and see what it's all about.
I think there's half a dozen guys out there that would totally agree with that, and there's probably half a dozen wives sitting at home going, "What the hell?" So, look, I can tell you that I honestly think it is wholly and solely to do with that toilet scenario. You know, there are a lot of gun women out there that can fish by themselves and whatnot, but they really struggle with that toilet thing. So,
well, I fully understand their point of view. I mean, every time you try to do a wee off the boat, somebody takes a photo of your bits.
Look, and I can tell you that it's there was a very high profile, and I'll leave a name out of it, that used to fish the tournaments a lot, and she was a bit of a gun, and she told us around the campfire one night how hard it is to actually use a shiwi. So if anyone thinks that a shiwi is an easy thing to use, she explained why it's not. So it's not as easy as just hanging it out over the side. So we'll leave that one for the girls to work out. Thanks for that question, Amber. Let's look for another one. If you got to go, you got to go, Greg Riggins.
Oh, look, there's plenty of boaters. You know, if the ladies want to duck up into the bush,
yeah,
you go, boys will turn their back and tie a new leader on, and the job's done.
I think talking about Killer before, he was renowned for 10 minutes into the session needing to go to the toilet. It didn't matter whether it was an AFC or an ABT. Bo, would you like to see ABT tournaments on the TV for everyone to watch? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, obviously it'd be great. You know, it's great for the sport. It's great for the people in it. It's great for sponsors, but it's expensive. Like, I think, like Langers and Mitch Cohn mentioned somewhere the other week, it's like $50,000 to put on one episode of a TV show. So you really need some big sponsors and some big money to get, you know, onto the TV. I mean, look, it'd be great for the sport, and you know, the AFC stuff that they did was great. I mean, you know, years ago it was helicopters, you know, which are super expensive. But I mean, now you could obviously do that with drones and that sort of stuff. But I mean, you know, even if they could just get one tournament, you know, maybe the Australian Open, you know, televised or somehow televised, it would be great, and a big promotion for the sport and for sponsors.
Yeah, Tim, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, any promotion's going to open up the sport further and further. But I think it's such a a hard sport to televise, because you got to say a field of 40 boats. Well, who do you watch?
Yeah.
Because even as we all know, you can be the world's best angler and have a really bad day, and if the camera's there watching you, it's the world's most boring sport. Yeah. It's like watching casting comps. Again, the expense is there, but any type of promotion of the sport is a wonderful thing, and who wouldn't want to sit on rainy days and watch? Like I've got my whole series of the AFC. Since up until they stopped making the videos, the DVDs. Sorry, I'm showing my age there. The videos on Betamax. That'd be a great thing to do, to be able to do. And I still watch them sometimes. When you go into a dam that you haven't been to in ages, what were they doing 5 years ago? What were they doing 10 years ago? Because a lot of the time you see these techniques and bits and pieces come back.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I think it was when ABT Lockdown Live started and Morgo started putting some of the stuff out on YouTube, and you're watching, Carl and Harry and that throwing spinnerbaits at Glenbourne and Jackals at St Clair and whatnot, and you're like, oh, shit, I've been there 10 times and never thrown either of them. So different times of the year, I suppose. Let's go with Jordan's got a question. What's your favourite place to fish for bass, and how would you target them?
At the moment, I'm really lucky. 15 minutes up the road, you've got our little ISIS dam, which is a balancing storage for the cane fields and irrigation around us. And at the moment, the bass are schooled up. Myself and a mate had a 3-hour session out there, and we got over 60 bass for the 3 hours, just on spoons. It's a beautiful little dam. It's my little therapy dam, I suppose you could say that. And there's, if you've got 4 boats out there, it's packed.
What about you, Nick?
It's a toss-up between Glenbourne and St Clair. I mean, I started my bass fishing at Glenbourne and got some really good fish there. It is such a diverse dam. You got the big wall and all the timber, and you got the narrows at the back. But I'm a bit like Tim. 25 minutes away from my house is St Clair, and I do like that surface bite in the trees when the weather warms up. I took my 2 younger kids there, and they got their first bass on surface, and it was just the best thing ever. You fish those weed edges, on your little soft plastics, and because the weed there at the moment is ridiculous, because due to COVID, there's been no one fishing it, so all the weeds growing back huge, which is really good for the dam, really good for the fish and the bait. I would have to say, bass at St Clair on surface is probably my favourite.
Yeah, well, I'd be different to both of you guys. I say it all the time. It'd be Kenya for me. I could live there in a heartbeat. You can catch some surface, subsurface, spinnerbaits, jackals, spoons, plastics, blades. It doesn't really matter. They fight harder than any other bass I know. And you've got that bonus of maybe a Saratoga or 2. In nearly every session, you'll catch a Saratoga in any style either. All right.
Yeah, we're lucky at ISIS. We've just had them put in there as well. Yeah.
Oh, Toga, they don't take long to take off. Yeah. Bo's got it. What's the biggest thing you've learnt in these bass tournaments that changed your fishing from when you first started?
Oh, that's a massive for me. The biggest thing I've learnt is to listen. If you're around a campfire, if you're at a briefing, if there's blokes talking, just listen, because you'll learn more listening to what people are talking about than asking repetitive questions. Blokes are happy to share their knowledge, listening. I didn't pre-fish the Clarence. I arrived, 1 o'clock in the afternoon due to work. It was blowing a gale. I pulled up at the ramp, and there was 2 old guys saying, "Oh, what are all these big boats doing in town?" And I said, there's a tournament on this weekend, and obviously it's a bass tournament, and they opened up to me. Once I'd said that, they were saying, "Fish here, fish there, use this, down there we get fish here, we get fish there. That fish spot at the moment's rubbish, this is going okay." So just by telling them a little bit about why I was there, they opened up to me, and my co-boater actually got his biggest PB river bass that round. So, just by listening to other people and taking in their information, is probably the biggest thing I've learnt. I don't know if it's sort of changed the way I fish. Probably the biggest change in my fishing is skirted jigs. If you would have said to me 2 years ago, tell me about a skirted jig, I would tell you it's, some weird dance. But, skirted jigs are massive, and that's probably the biggest change in my fishing. I still wouldn't say I'm that good at it. It's a technique that you've got to work at, and you've got to have the right gear for it. The first thing I found out that changed the way I fish, skirted jigs, is the rod I was using the tip was too stiff, and I was missing the bite. So got a little bit of advice there, and chatted to a few people. Obviously, changed the rod, and my hookup rate on skirted jigs, was heaps better.
Yep. Do you use straight through or do you use braid?
No, I use braid, but a long leader. Yeah, braid with a long leader. I don't haven't fished straight through. That could be a topic for a 10-minute discussion. Some blokes fish straight through, some don't. A lot of the guys that have come from the that fish both, like bass and brim, will often run straight through. If they're the brim fishers, they'll bring their brim gear and run straight through with some stuff. But yeah, the braid and leader.
Yep. What about you, Timmy?
I think one of the biggest things is that I've learned to do, which I had a bad habit of doing, which was just going with the same techniques all the time. It's like, I got to, this is how I catch bass, and learning to be flexible and learning to think outside the square, especially when you got shut down fish. Just change up what you're doing. Don't always go. Like you might get a headset, and years ago you would have said, Kenya, that's a spinnerbait and TN60 bite, and that's what we used to use a hell of a lot years ago. But now you're looking at we're throwing spoons, we're still throwing those. Jigs weren't even heard of back then. Yeah, so it's I suppose being able to be flexible in the time where you need to be flexible. Yeah, thinking about, well, okay, this worked in the pre-fish, it's not working now. What can I do to swap up here?
Yeah, look, I agree with both of you there. I think definitely listening to others is the key to anything in life, rather than talking. Actually, open your ears and listening. So there's plenty of guys out there that have done it, and will give you that information. So we're running out of questions here. We might have you got a question that stuck out in your head there that you'd love to give one of those Vex prizes away for, Nick?
Oh, Ricky's question stands out because he was bagging me, but he's not getting a prize.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
And my wife's not getting one either because that's rigged. There was a question there about there's about co-boating and what to take and not to take, how many rods you should take and that sort of stuff.
Yep. I'll go back through and look for that. I'll bring another question up here. It's actually Ricky, which is a relevant question. He's not hanging the shit, so I'll bring this question up. With all the different tournaments going on, what's the best places to look for future tournaments to plan ahead and book your place? So I'll let you guys do that, and I'll go back and look for that question.
Oh, just jump on. It's not just ABT. Jump on the internet. Do your Google searches. ABT have got their tournament dates there. AYC, they do all the freshwater stuff, bass, cod, and yellowbelly. There's a person right into to the brim side of it, sort of around north of Sydney and Sydney itself, and a little bit on southern Sydney. I say ABT are all around the country with bass, brim, and the barra up north. So if you look at a few of those main pages, that's sort of got most of them. If you're going to an area, on a holiday or something, look up the local fishing club. They might be running a comp. Which is good to jump on that happened to me at Mulwala. I was going down there with the kids in the school holidays, and there was a cod comp on run by the Mulwala Fishing Club. So we jumped in on that. We just, Googled the local place at the time, and we found out there's a comp on, so we entered. So there's plenty of places to look. Obviously your Google search, your Facebook is usually your best place. Some of the fishing magazines will have them in the back. Click over in the back, it tells you what comps are coming on. Fishing Monthly has all your comps in there, or the vast majority. Just ask around your local fishing shops and see what's going on in your local area.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely. And also look at the different styles of comps. There's heaps of family fishing comps for fish stocking associations, and they're ones that you just turn up with your boat, or you can fish from the bank, so you don't have to have all of that equipment. I know that because I'm on the BP Fish Stocking Association, Bjelke-Petersen Dam. So family fish comps are great fun, and we do a lot of family activities, not just fishing. Like we held like helping kids to learn to cast, and then a competition for target practice with casting. But also looking at, if you want to get into tournament angling, maybe start with things like your Bass Electric, because you don't need to be paired up with somebody. You just have a look through that list, pick, that's close by, or I like that place, and you can just turn up and enter on the day, which is really good. You can enter a couple of days before online, but it's quite good. If the weather turns absolutely horrible, you haven't invested all this money in booking accommodation, this, that, and the other. You can just wake up in the morning and go, I'm not going. So do what's flexible for you. I think do what works for you, and as you said, mate, go into the fishing magazines, go online, have a look around for fishing clubs, associations. Type in Australian fishing comps and see what comes up on Google. There'll be a heap of stuff. Sorry, any search engine, not just Google.
Yeah. I can't find that question. I know it's in there. It'll come back to me when when the feed's actually finished. So I'll go looking for that in a minute. But I'll find that question. I'll get in contact with them for a Vex pack. That was the one with the how many rods and lures.
I think it was one of the first questions.
Yeah, that's why it's dropped off my feed.
We have our youngest viewer on there for the Vex shirt and pack.
Yeah, we did have the only one that sort of volunteered their name up was Calissa Craig. So she's got the 11-year-old daughter, I believe it was.
Yeah, that shirt should fit perfectly.
So we'll give that to Calissa. Calissa, get a hold of me through my Facebook page, and I will get your details onto the guys to get that posted out to you. Let's see if there's any more prizes. We might be nearly calling it a day. Bo's offered to take this all out for a pre-fish next time we're at Clarence. And we'll Nick here. Would you rather win an AOY or a grand final?
Grand final.
Well, I'd like to get to the grand final because I missed out by a couple of spots last year. So I'll take it one step at a time. Just to get to the grand final would be a good start.
Yeah, no, true. I always set my goal at the start of the year that if I could make the grand final is a bonus, and then anything else from there. So you've got to be pretty consistent to win an AOY. So we've got Bo asked the question you're looking for. So it was Bo. Evely was the winner of that one.
So I think I've still got that's 3 Vex packs. I think I've got 1 to go.
Yep. So you got the shirt we've given to Calissa. Bo's got 1 Vex pack. Paul Langley's got the other Vex pack, and I gave the Jeremy from Huntley the postcode pack. So we've still got 1 to give away.
Yeah, I'll give you my address later, mate.
Yeah, there's 1 Vex pack to go. And actually, while I'm talking about Vex, their new bread and butter blade 42 mil and the 7 gram will be in your stores lately. I've actually got to see them today in a preview, and they are going to be smashing all your natives and your brim.
You haven't got one to sneaky to show us or anything, mate?
I've got the little brother, the 35, and that colour was catching plenty at Glenball on the weekend. So it's just a slightly bigger version of that one.
Yep, rightio. Well, and Vex are big helpers of a lot of the comps down here. I know they're a big supporter of the Masters that I fish. and put some stuff in. So if you haven't checked them out, what's their website?
I think it's just vexfishing.com.au.
So it's VEX. So if you're out there looking for it, VEX. So we've got a couple of questions. As soon as you offer a prize up, the questions start coming in. We've got a couple more. Tim, this is a decent question. What does the sport need to get the younger generation youth involved in tournaments to grow the sport?
Blow up things with screens.
I would think, to sort of play with a little bit of humour here. There you go. Dave's put it in there. It's vexfishing.com. So thanks, Dave, for putting that in there. I know you're on watching. So I think with kids and fishing, it's all to do with what you were talking about before, Nick, with the whole big burly bloke syndrome and all the old stuff's gone. The old guys are all out of the sport. The shared weight and everything else has helped out immensely. I think ABT's got a minimum age of 16, so you have to be 16 to fish an ABT. But there's plenty of other family bassins and bass-tastics and that sort of thing you can fish at a younger age. And I would have thought that maybe PlayStation fishing with your Garmin electronics might suck a few of them in now that you can actually sit there and watch the screen and not actually pay attention to the fishing might help. But that's with a little bit of tongue in cheek. What do you reckon would get more kids into fishing?
I think it's not just the fishing side. Like if you go away, camping or whatever, do the fishing, but also, the side stuff. If you a bit of footy, bit of cricket, so they're not just fishing. Because if you're not getting fish, kids will just, go, oh, this is rubbish. We're not catching any fish. So if at least you're doing other things, it's not all just about the fishing. And slowly, obviously their interest will grow as they get more fish, and they'll, go from less fishing, on a weekend away to more fishing. I mean, and that's what happened to me. And I think we should obviously encourage the younger generation, come along. Like there's a young guy up the road from me, and he's very keen on bass fishing. So I'm sort of going to try and take him under my wing a little bit, and show him some stuff and try and he's obviously keen. So let's take him to the next level. Let's get into a family bassin or something like that. And I'm happy for him to jump on our entry form. I'll pay the family bassin entry fee, and he can jump on too, and show him a few comps, and and word of mouth's great. He might say, "Oh, we got a few fish," and tell his mates, and then his mates come along, and then he'll have his next group of mates involved in the sport, which is the next generation sort of to come through.
Yeah, and I think it's there is a massive amount of travel to be done at these comps, and I think that it's hard for parents to take their kids. So a lot of these good young kids that have come through have had a parent that's fished with them or supported them through. The days of probably letting your child go with somebody else that you don't know is probably gone. So I would put the onus back onto the parents to get out and meet some of these pro anglers and try and get one of them to do exactly what you're saying, take their kid under their wing so they know where they are when they're away and stuff like that. So I agree with that totally. I mean, you've got to take the positives and the negatives. Bass Nation used to run a junior senior comp at Somerset every year and put all on for the kids, and they'd get all the boaters to turn up there, and you get 5 kids turn up. So yes, we've got to do the work, but I think the parents have got to stop just like at the footy or the hockey or the basketball, dropping the kids off at the door and expecting somebody else to look after them for the weekend. So, get them into there's some great groups of guys out there. I know the G20 Summit you had on the weekend, the guys in that group. I know the guys from Kingaroy that I used to travel with. There was a lot of guys that jump in, and we had 17, 18-year-olds and whatnot traveling with us a lot. So, we tried not to get them into too much trouble. All right. I'm running out of questions. Nick, to answer your question, how are we going to get across the border if they close? Because Nick's travelling with me for Ivanhoe. We're leaving for Victoria. Don't stress, young man. I have a plan. All right. There is a plan in place, so I can't let the cat out of the bag, or the police might be waiting on the border for us. So, there is a plan. We will get through. Trust me, my son. So we'll get through. Listen, guys, I think we're just about done. The questions have stopped. We've got one more prize pack to give away, don't we?
We sure do.
All right. I'm going to slowly go back. Is there anything you guys want to say before we hit the road?
Look, if anyone wants to send me any messages or ask any questions about, that first year in ABT, the travel, the people are just amazing. Like they really are so supportive of new people coming into the sport. So don't be afraid to think that they're this big elite bunch of people who won't have anything to do with you. I knew Troy Bolton, knew one person from my game fishing days at ABT, and now, I know dozens and dozens, and I was away with a dozen on the weekend. So, don't be afraid to take that step and, put yourself out there, get involved. If anyone's got any questions, send me a message, and we can answer some questions and try and get people involved in the sport and get them to a few comps.
Yep, no, excellent. And that's for anyone that's been on the show. Everyone's been great. I do have to thank you guys a lot for giving up your time and chasing down people to give away prizes and in general just being top guys. It's been great to have you on tonight. I do have my first guests in the studio. You can see the couch there. I've put it up. So next week I do have my first live guest in the studio. So I'm going to go and jump into the studio. Tim, you give us anything you've got to close up on, mate.
For those that are thinking about having a go, just do it. Just do it. I kind of wish that I'd just gone in earlier myself. It can be a bit daunting when you're sort of looking in at all of these people you read about in magazines and you see on the telly, but they're just people, yeah. Go in, enter a comp, have a chat with people, just go and introduce yourself. Hi, I'm new to this. I've seen you on TV. And have a bit of a chat with them. Oh, God, Corey, is that like a casting couch?
So, Tim, how are you going?
Back, we'll donate that to the.
Just move the microphone. That's better. No, that's better.
That's better.
Yeah. That last position didn't look good.
So this is the couch for next weekend. So we're going to have Ricky Doyle and Ruben Doyle in studio to give away some prizes. So I'm pretty happy with the setup now. We've got 2 studios here, so I'm happy with that.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, no doubt be talking everything cod.
Everything cod.
It will be everything. No, Rick and Ruben know their stuff. We're going to talk about cod. We'll talk about bass. We'll talk about anything that you guys want to ask questions for. It was great to have you on the show. I do have some big guests coming up. As I said, Rick Doyle next week. We are on the cards to talk to the Granite Gorillas in a few weeks' time. We've got the Skeezy boys pretty keen to come on. So, we've got some big cod people coming on in the next few weeks. I will continue to work on the bass guys. When we get to Ivanhoe, we will be going live from Ivanhoe, and Tim is going to be our roving reporter at Ivanhoe. So that's going to be a bit of fun. On the weekends that we have comps on, I won't be on the Monday night because of travel and everything else. We are going to go live from the comps itself. So we're looking forward to that. Thanks, guys, for coming on tonight. When I stop the feed, just log back in so we can have a quick chat before we go home and do the thanks after. But thanks, everyone, for being on. Thanks for everyone for asking their questions again. Don't forget, get chopped. Don't forget the Pay It Forward campaign that we've got running, and we'll talk to you all again next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.